That's a good question, man.
Yeah.
Before I forget, when does golf start?
May 6th.
Okay, I can't wait.
Yeah. So
Hopefully, I can get my son to come out
week
a
or
few
two.
times.
a week or two.
Yeah, hopefully, I can get Zachary to come out and do it. Oh, time to pause that sumbitch.
Hey, Facebook's live.
216 is live. It says.
That's right.
Oh, God, what a week.
I read the news today, a two-bit expose of the same old story that I heard yesterday. Yeah, it goes the headlines, man. They all just go to plan. They're framed and fixed and rigged, and you know they're all just spam. So buckle down, plug right in, and close its way under your skin. Just got back on the things they spout, and you should give me that good news.
Why?
Because I'm tired of the same old shit.
Welcome in Friday morning, 21-6 the net. This is The Ground. He's Giles. I'm Jones. This is the show, unique. The only show that we have that invites people, you know what? You be part of this show.
Yeah.
We've got a link out there on social media. Look at that, Eddie. Good morning. Glad to have you. His baby must be up early.
Yeah, right.
And, glad to have everybody here. Swing in, hang out with us. Right there, you'll see good old Uncle Pete's telling you, go to https://streamyard.com/whatever those are. Come in and be part of this show. We want to hear your opinion, your thoughts. Jump on. We'd love to see you.
Yeah,
right?
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everyone's had an awesome week and things are going well. And if they're not, realize that tomorrow is another day.
That's right.
Right? Or today is another day to make it better. And that's what it's all about. Realizing that it's a new day. Encourage yourself to push on, push forward, and love your neighbor.
So, of course, you're going to see right here in front of us that today's episode brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Reese's Barkery and Politique. www.reesesbarkery.com, 815-363-7297. Why? Because your fur babies need to eat well. They need to live well. And Reese's has the stuff that will help them do that.
Yeah. We are, as kids, I think a lot of us used to always hear that, you are what you eat. And it's the same for the animals too.
Mm-hmm.
If you're giving them good quality food and love,
That's right.
they're going to have a much better life than if you're just feeding them some crap kibble.
That's right.
So stop in, bring your puppy, bring your kitty, whatever. Bring your fur baby. Yeah, bring them on into the store. Let them come on and we let our puppies do their shopping on,
If you're like Eddie Martinez and you're thinking of the wrong kitty, stop over at Fantasy Factory.
Good morning, Eddie.
Bring that kitty too.
Yeah, bring that kitty too. Come on, everyone needs a purr.
That's right. Of course, the grounds where we talk from anything from peanut butter to politics, but no politics.
Yeah, politics is no fun. You guys can all have that stuff on social media. I don't want to hear about any of it.
So you brought up this week teacher or preacher.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Well, so in life as parents or as people, at least I know for me and for you, it's, all about, daily dose of his encouragement or helping people to have a better day, to be a better person, to have a better life. Right. And I'm thinking to myself, preacher or teacher, when you're talking to somebody that you're trying to educate or help or just get through an issue, what are you? Are you a preacher or a teacher? Should you be a little bit of both? What works? What doesn't work? And I find for me that I'm trying to teach people things, but I guess the way that I teach, it comes across as being more of a preacher.
What do you mean? You gotta give me an example.
So instead of the old thing of do as I do, not as I say.
Okay.
Right. Well, I'm preaching to them. You have to do this, and this is why, instead of teaching them maybe through actions. I'm going to do it, and you're going to learn by watching me do it. Instead of saying, this is what you need to do, show them through action instead of words. Sometimes we have to choose which direction or which avenue we works best for that individual we're trying to help through whatever situation they have. And I find myself, and I think probably a lot of people have good thoughts and good ideas behind what they say, but how they deliver it to that individual could make or break how that thought process comes across.
All right. So give me your definition of teacher.
Oh, that's a good one. My definition. My
Yeah,
definition
it's easy for
you. Well, my definition of teacher is passing on knowledge of some subject or idea that you're trying to help the other person learn. So, as a teacher, this morning I had the absolute great opportunity to wake up my grandbaby and hang out with her this morning while her mom works.
Okay.
And I'm teaching her right now her ABCs. Right. So for a little young baby like that, you're teaching, you're making it fun, you're enjoying it, right? I think a teacher has to make things or should make things fun.
And you're doing it in Mandarin.
Yeah.
Right.
So
because right now you should be teaching her a different language other than English so that it's in her.
She actually knows sign language at 13 months.
Yeah, a lot of kids do. A lot of babies do.
It's amazing what they pick up, you know. And it's
all right. And what's your definition of preacher?
So a preacher is somebody that tells you what to do based on, I don't know, maybe their experiences. But it sometimes can come across as more of do as I do, not as I say type of, does that make sense to you? You know, like, well, if you're in church, you have a preacher, right? That's telling you, that's bringing you the good news, the good word, do this, do that, do this, right? But that person might not actually be doing that behind the scenes. They're telling you what you should do.
Yeah.
Not what maybe they're doing, because like, you know, what's the old saying? Do as I do, not as I say, or do as I say, not as I do. Right. So a preacher, I think, is somebody that's saying, do as I say, not as I do. A teacher is saying, do what I do and watch me do it. And this is how I do it.
Okay. Good morning, Bob. Glad to have you with us, brother. Question. Are you actually condescending or patronizing when you communicate with others?
Depends on the person. Depends on.
Are you going, Bob, teacher, preacher? So you'd be saying a preacher is condescending or patronizing, or a teacher, or where are you going with this train of thought? Help us out with that. Because it depends who I'm talking to and what's.
Well, I was just going to say, it all depends on the situation, right? For sure. I mean, as far as condescending or patronizing, I don't know realistically if either one of those fit into my whole thought process of a preacher, teacher. Because I think the reason that one really came up to me is when you're trying to get a point or information across to somebody, what is the best method to do that, to help that person pick up the concept or the idea of what you're trying to explain to them? In some respects, some people need to be preached to, like when you go, I'm going to use church again as an example. You're going to church and your teacher or your preacher, your pastor is telling you, this is what God said, or this is what society says you should do.
Interesting to me, your train of thought there, because to me, they're the same. There's absolutely no difference. Well, they're absolutely the same.
They are, but it's how I think it really realistically how it comes across. Right. So, I mean, are you telling me what to do? Or are you showing me what to do? A preacher is telling you what to do. A teacher, in my mind, is showing you what to do.
Not necessarily.
No.
See, it's one and the same. It's whoever is in front of that person. So if I'm in a pulpit and I'm the preacher for the day, quote unquote, I can teach. It all depends on how you receive the information that I'm giving. Right. So if it doesn't interest you or you don't care, I'm then a preacher. Right. If it's something that you're going to take and inject into your life or follow through or whatever, that's on you. Then now I've become a teacher. Right. So it really depends on how the receiver is taking and acting on that information, is what I would say. Right. Shayna, good morning. Preacher to me is someone who is sharing with vested interest in my appreciating it and my appreciation. Right. Right. So the a clergy, right, and that's where we get preacher, right? Oh man, they're standing on their
they're preaching the gospel, or
they're standing
God's
on their
word.
soapbox preaching.
Right.
Well, that means that I'm pretty much tuned out. What you're saying doesn't interest me, and I don't care. You're just up there preaching away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. The State of the Union here in the United States, you're just getting up there and preaching. And they're preaching to the choir. They're standing in front of all their peers and people who have created all of the garbage, right? and let's stand up and clap, right? They're not trying to teach them anything, nor are they trying to teach anybody who's tuned in anything. They're because you really don't care, and you're oh my god. You everybody knows the State of the Union. Look around you. Right?
Yeah, we don't talk politics.
Right. I'm just
no, but I hear you saying.
I'm just saying that would be a preaching. You're tuning out. I've sat in a lot of classes because of the degree, or just because of high school or whatever, public school education, that you had to take. It didn't interest me. I didn't care. Was that person a teacher? Well, their title is a teacher. Did they teach me anything? Not necessarily. In the same breath, though, I can go hang out with a homeless person for a day who can teach me more about life than any high school ever could.
Absolutely. Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
But they're not tagged a teacher, right? The difference between preaching and teaching is that preaching is primarily geared toward life change, while teaching is primarily aimed at transferring knowledge.
Well, I like that. Interesting.
Preaching is primarily geared toward life change.
But also teaching is life change. I think so. I think the reason I brought it up is the difference between preacher and teacher is really in how you deliver that information to that person. Obviously, how they receive it could make a difference. But I mean, once again, the do as I do, not as, do as I say, not as I do. That's more of a preaching. Teaching is, hey, this is why I do it, or this is how I do something, and this is why I do it. Kind of learning a lesson. If you're preaching, you're just saying, this is what I believe, and this is what I think you should do, but you're not generally following it up, walking the walk, so to speak, if that makes any sense.
So human beings ape, right? We mimic. We mimic what we see.
Right.
Mannerisms, tonalities, hand gestures, movements. We mimic, I watched you do this, now I can do this. So you are a home inspector, right? And so you're familiar with a lot of the trades, right?
Right.
And I can go to school to learn to be a plumber, but I'm going to come out and be an apprentice. I have to show you how this is done for a year or two. You earn your stripes. But I'm watching, right? So a lot of the people in the trades now, whether it's plumbing, mechanic, whatever, are infuriated. Oh, you can't just go to YouTube and learn. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can, very much so.
Why? Because I can stop it and watch, and then I can mimic what they're doing. I need to change I got to change the head gasket on my, on my 72 Nova, right? I can go to YouTube,
right,
and learn, be taught how to do it.
Right. Yeah, they're teaching, or it's an instructional video.
Or I can go to the to the garage and have Denny go, well, you need to do this, this, and this, and it's going to cost you this. Well, he's preaching to me, because at that point I'm like, well, I don't, what you're saying, I don't care. It's like Charlie Brown. Wah, wah,
Wah,
wah,
wah.
wah, 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 right?
Right.
But I'm like, man, I think I can do this. I can, there's enough room there in this 72 Nova, in the engine compartment, that I can get in there and I should be able to
Do it
this.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, everybody in the trades go, you got to get a professional. You got to get, well, do ya?
Depends on what you're doing and how avid, how much you want to try to learn it yourself. Right. I mean, if you've got that desire to figure it out and do it yourself, and that's
going back to, how am I receiving the information?
Right.
Am I leaving? If you're sitting there preaching to me, do I leave and go, what he said was really interesting, let me look deeper into that? Now you've become a teacher, not a preacher.
Right.
If I walk away and go, well, Scott, he doesn't know what the hell, oh, that's great, he's whatever, and he doesn't live his life that way, well, I'm not gonna listen to him. Now you're preaching. Right. I mean,
and that's how a person actually accepts that information could change it from being a teaching experience to a preaching experience. And I have been learning lately that me personally, I come off, even though I'm trying to teach or instruct, my, as you put the word, tonality, or my mannerisms come across more as preaching. Which I think sometimes when you're preaching to somebody, I think you have a greater opportunity or greater chance for them to actually kind of shut down than if you're teaching.
Which then goes into what Bob said now, right? Are you condescending, right? God, just look at, seriously, all you got to do, right? Just watch me. And now you're going, I'm going to teach you, but your tonality or your condescending point is like, you're a dumb fuck. Just let me do this.
Yeah, let me show you. Let me tell you how to do it right. Yeah, and that's for me. That's why this kind of was been pondering in my head all week, because I'm trying to teach. That's my big thing. I'm trying to help people learn and develop their own skills and help themselves, in whatever task I may be talking about. But I feel that a lot of times, unbeknownst to me until after, if they'll tell me, that it's coming across more as a preaching episode than a teaching episode. Maybe because of my tonality, or the fact that maybe they don't really have a big interest in it. So they kind of shut down and quit talking to me about that. I don't want to know. Instead of, hey, this is how you change it, to your example, your head gasket on your car.
Yeah.
And actually teaching them, walking them through it and helping them do it, instead of saying, do this. Because a preacher says, do this, right? Where a teacher says, this is what you do, and this is how you do it. Right. So I think being a teacher can be a little bit more enlightening. Okay. Hopefully you're getting them to be more interested, more involved in get enlightened to want to do it themselves. Where a preacher, you kind of like, well, why is he telling me that? I don't want to listen to him. Let him walk the walk instead of telling me how to do it. Help me change that head gasket instead of telling me to do it.
Sure. Shana says, we never know where the next bit of transformative info will come from. I listen to the preachers with one ear until something resonates with me. It's only at that point that I accept them as a teacher. Staying open and non-judgmental helps. Absolutely. That's why I say the difference between a teacher and a preacher is how I'm receiving the information.
Right. But as a person giving as a person giving that information.
Right. Hey, Alex.
So unfortunately, you do rely on how that person is accepting that information, and it comes across. And that's part of how you deliver that information to them, whether you're going to come across as a preacher or a teacher, right?
Say that again.
I can't remember what I just said. Well, I'm just saying I can't control how you accept my information. So I might be wanting to teach you how to change that head gasket, right? But if you're not willing to accept my steps or my ideas and my the process, if you will, no interest, you're coming across, oh, you're just preaching.
Yeah.
Quit telling me that instead of teaching me and showing me how to do it.
So Shana says, Scott, you are the best teacher there, in my opinion. You are wrong often, but always authentic in your compassion.
I try. every day I
Right.
try. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
So before you start, all right. So give me an idea. What were you doing this week that you go? Let's talk about this.
Well, this week I was chatting with my son
Mhm.
about life and just where he's going and
Yeah.
his job. He's
Mhm.
in sales.
Yeah.
And as you know, sales it's a people person, or it's a people business, right?
Relationship
It's a
business, yep.
relationship business,
Yeah.
right? And I've basically been in sales my entire life,
Always.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to teach my son what the basic fundamentals of sales is. Doesn't matter
Mhm.
what you're selling. If you're selling a person, if you're selling products,
Mhm.
it all has the same formula to it, if
Yeah.
you will, right?
Mhm.
So I'm trying to teach him everything I know about sales and how to create those relationships and grow those relationships so it will further your mission, if you will, your
If you will.
career, right?
Mhm.
But as I watch his eyes kind of glaze over when I'm talking to him, at that point I realize that I'm kind of becoming more of a preacher to him, saying, this is what you need to do,
Yeah.
instead of this is what so like a teacher says, this is what I do and this is what works for me, or this is what works, instead of saying this is what you have to do.
Right. So if he just got done eating, right? He just got done eating, and then you said, "Hey, let's jump in the car and go to the Old Country Buffet." Would he be excited about that?
No, because he's already filled.
All right.
His
So
needs in that respect have
So-
been met.
so if you find if you go over and over to some place where people are starving, even here in America, right, and you find somebody who's starving, hasn't eaten for a week, and you go, hey, let's go to the Old Country Buffet, would they be excited about that?
Maybe hopefully it depends on the person. They'd be most
Right.
likely overwhelmed,
But they wouldn't sit there and eat. They might have a little bit of you haven't eaten for days,
right?
So you can't eat much at that point.
Right.
Your body will throw it back up.
Right.
So you have people who are full and you have people who are starving, that taking them to the buffet isn't good. But if you have somebody who's hungry and take them to the buffet, usually they'll overeat. Right. So the question is, as you're teaching or preaching, are you taking a hungry or a starving person to the buffet, or do you have somebody who's hungry and wants that knowledge and is going to gobble it up? You see what I'm saying?
I totally follow you.
So it all depends. Again, how is it being perceived? The advice that you're giving him, or anybody as you're teaching, because that is who you are at your core, is great. And you and I will get irritated, like, man, because these people's problems, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, seriously,
right.
And
it's frustrating.
But we don't know if they're hungry. And that's the problem in today's society, I think. Not with young people, just with people in general. Is that people are either full or starving, or they think they're full because they've taken in all this stuff off the internet and social media and all this stuff. And they're not hungry, right? So they've just been force fed, right? It's like it's like a dog. You leave that bowl full all the time, that dog's just going to keep eating.
Right. They're going to be grazing all day long.
Right. It's not good for them. So what I always see, especially in coaching, I work with 7th grade girls, and I've been frustrated. Man, I've just been frustrated beyond belief, because if I ask a question, the girls know the answer. Bam, like that. And then you give them a basketball in their hand. They go out to the floor, and it's as if they're in a whole new world. It's like Wizard of Oz. It's like, well, how did I get here?
So, like you're saying, they get the concept, but they can't put it into practice.
They could draw everything up. They can tell you exactly.
Put it into practice.
Right. So if you take a look at my 10 items of success, number 4 is execute what you practice. They don't
preach what you teach, or teach what you're
right.
Yeah.
So
do as I say.
So the interesting thing is, as I was thinking about this, is who are you trying to feed, right? So a lot of times in my world as a sales coach, as a sales manager, as a sales leader throughout my life, I've always said, hey, if I could give you an idea that would make your job simpler, would you be interested? And if they say no, I walk away. I don't try to throw it down their throat. It tells me they're either starving. I know they're starving from their results, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or they're full. And I know that from their results as well. Right. But I quit trying if they're not interested, because I still believe the difference between preaching and teaching is how that information is being received.
Right.
If
Right.
that makes
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. The person that you're
And it
telling
saves
it
a
to.
lot of frustration for me.
Right.
you
Right.
know?
And unfortunately we have no control over how that person is receiving that
Right.
information. And that's where, like what you brought up earlier, the tonality and how it's coming across to them. How do you
Right.
get them interested in it
Right.
to become an actual teaching experience instead of a
Yeah.
preaching experience? Because I think people these days tend to listen more to a teacher than a preacher. Because right now, with the way the world is, I feel that everything is being preached. You should do this, you should do that,
Yeah.
you need to do this, you need to do that. How about, what? Just show them by doing it, right? By being a good, caring, compassionate individual instead of saying you should be this. How about just lead by example?
Well,
That's more of a
that's why I
teacher.
say human beings, as human beings, we mimic what we see. We have all of our life. That's how we learn to walk. We watch our parents walking. Right. At some point, somebody shows us how to go to the bathroom on a toilet. You just don't learn. That's not natural. Right. We learn how to hold a fork, and we're shown. Right. And then we watch everybody doing it. We mimic.
Right.
Here in America, we drive on the right hand side of the road.
Right.
Because everybody does.
Right.
Not in Britain, or Europe or whatever, right? Then
Right.
you go, wait, whoa, right? So everything that we do, when we were in school, you had the times tables, right? Remember that? And we had to do it in a certain set of time. I was never fast with it. You'd get a kid done in like 30 seconds, get them all right. And I'm like,
still trying to figure it out, all frustrated, right? Yep. Been there.
Right.
daily.
And so, but the teacher we had flashcards and teachers, and it was mimicked, right? It's mimicked. Everything that we do as a human being, we watch somebody else do it. Our mannerisms, the way that we hold a pen, the way that we, to what beer we drink. You go to my house, my parents' house, my brother's house. Guess what's there? Pabst Blue Ribbon. People are like, oh, that's what my grandfather. You can't find a picture of my grandfather without a PBR in it.
So you learned that PBR is good.
Yeah, my brothers.
That's part of every life.
Yeah, my brothers. There's PBR in their house. It's just standard, right? So you learn, right? You watch that, you mimic. My grandparents, my mom's mom and dad, who I was very close with. They were the type of people, hey, the door's open, never locked, come in any time of the day, sit down, we'll have a drink, a cup of coffee, whatever. Very open, and let me wait on you as you're at my house, right?
I love that type of
and that's you come to my house, we do the same thing. Hey, man, come on in.
I
You're
relish
part of the family,
people like that,
right?
Yeah.
I learned that. My dad's dad was an entrepreneur. Guess what? Here I am, entrepreneuring. So we mimic a lot of what we see and who we draw closest to. So I think that difference between a preacher and a teacher is just that. Now, Shayna asked, would coaching be somewhere between preacher and teacher? Well, here's.
Well, I think a coach is actually both. I think a coach is actually both, because you're teaching them how to do it, but you're also telling them this is what you have to do. If you want to, score so many points, right? This is what you have to do. And then the teacher comes out and says, and this is how you achieve that, right? Preaching, you have to hustle up and down that court. So let me teach you how to hustle up and down that court and how to take that shot, right? So it's a good coach is both, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. So if we're talking about sports coaches, or life coaches, right? To me, most people who are life coaches, I don't think there's such a thing.
Okay.
Hey, I'm going to coach you how to do life. I'll show you how to do life. No, mine's messed up. Don't worry about that. And I'm a ball of knots over here, but I'm going to be a life coach.
Right.
You can't coach my life. Shut
Right.
up. Right.
You're trying. Yeah. So you're trying to. Well, you're trying to
Right.
give them ideas and concepts to work with and move forward
You
with.
can't coach my life.
Right.
You can't.
You can't. But I think
Right.
what you're saying is though they're trying to give you ideas and thoughts and ways for you to maybe figure out which one might work best for you to help further your mission or your journey to the point to where you want to be. Right. No.
No, you can't. I'll be your life coach. Go
Well, but
you can't be a life
so
coach. You can't coach my life.
Right. Well, yeah, you can't coach the life, but you can give them ideas, thoughts,
Right.
encouragement, of things that
You might
maybe
be
have worked.
You could be a good business. You understand business, right? You could be a good business coach for me. Hey, here's what
Right.
But you can't sit here and go, well, listen, here's what you need to do in your life, son.
Right. And that's right. So in that respect, I totally get it because everyone's life's different. Even though we're all the same, everyone's life different.
You're not
So
on my path.
yeah,
Right.
you don't know you're not walking a mile in that guy's shoes, so you don't know what's really best for him. But what you can say is be like, hey, look, based on what I see and what I've done and what most people have done in your particular situation, based on the information you've shared with me, these are the things I think might help work best for you. Might be a bunch of shit.
Go see a therapist.
Right, exactly. But so when you say life coach, yeah, it's a tough one. So that's why I don't call them life coaches.
There's a lot of them out there
Right.
now. I don't know, I'm a life coach.
Yeah.
Really?
I call them, I would rather prefer to call them mentors, right? Just somebody that you can ask a question and be like, hey, this is what I'm going through.
For sure.
Right. And then they can teach you what worked for them. Or, hopefully not preach to you that you're doing this wrong and this is why.
Right.
Be like, hey, you know what? This is what you're asking me.
Yeah.
Let me teach you or explain to you what I know has worked for X amount of people. And it might work for you or it might not. Yeah. But as a teacher, you're giving them the information and the skills to try to rectify the situation or the problem that they have.
So coaching, so preacher, when I say preacher, you see an image. When I say preacher, you see an image of a person.
Yep.
When I say teacher, you also see an image of a person. When I say
totally different people, though.
And when I say coach, you again see a different person. So the words teacher, preacher, and coach are titles. Mr., Mrs., right?
Right.
Attorney, judge. You know what I'm saying? It's a title that we've put to a word. To teach, right, is to pass on,
share knowledge.
To preach is to share knowledge.
Right, but it's all in how it's presented. Right.
To coach is to share knowledge.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you look at and so it's all the same, again, depending on where you're at in life, who you're with, and how you want to receive that information.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I have, a ton of great teachers, right? What made them great? Think of your favorite teacher in school. What made that teacher great?
They actually showed interest.
They genuinely gave a shit.
They genuinely gave a shit. Yeah, they showed interest in me, and you could tell that it wasn't just something that they felt like they had to do. Right? They actually they wanted to make you, for lack of a better reason, a better person or a smarter person. Giving somebody the tools to help move their life in a forward, positive direction.
Right. And it's not that they didn't give you detentions. It's not that
I got a lot of those.
Right. It's not that they weren't hard on you.
Right.
It was like they genuinely gave a shit. Now think of a coach. What makes you think of your best coach? What made that coach the best? Right.
He pushed me.
Okay. And genuinely gave a shit. Wanted to make you better. You could feel that. And then think of a preacher, your best person that you can think of a preacher. Now, most of us will go to a church setting.
Right. That's the first. I mean, I think for most people, that's the first concept, or the first picture they get in their head when you say a preacher is somebody like a religious stature, right? Saying, do this, do that, do this, do this.
Which at some point we go, man, that's a preacher. They're next to God. And then they cheat on their wife and are addicted to cocaine. And you go, huh,
Wait, they're human.
that piece of shit was up there telling me this, that, and the third. And that's not how they were living. So now I've got
Right.
I don't like that preacher,
I
right?
do as I say, not as I
So
do.
as I'm ordained, right? I'm ordained in the Episcopal Church. I'm a deacon. That's why a lot of people call me Deke, right? So I'm a deacon. There were times where I was in the pulpit on a Sunday morning preaching. And I get done and go, well, that was a bunch of crap. Right? Thinking that.
If
right?
you're thinking that, think about what your congregation was
And then
thinking.
and then of course in church, everybody files out and shakes hands, right? And always when I thought that was horrible, 2 or 3 people would come up and be like, it was like you were talking right to me. Thank you so much. Right.
And which is great though, because if you hit one person and help one person, you've accomplished.
know,
right, but you've accomplished. So when they come up and actually give you that,
right.
There was props.
There was one time that I did, and I was at St. Mary in Crystal Lake, and Bill Holzel was the priest there, a great guy. And when I got done, I went and sat. We were sitting next to each other. So I got done, and he kind of goes, that was interesting, right? Like he didn't want to say it was a horrible sermon, right? And then we go to the back of the church and we're shaking people's hands, and 5 people almost right in a row, different families came up and like, thank you. I needed to hear that today. And I looked at him and like,
Yeah, right. Yeah, screw you. See,
right?
I hit somebody.
Right?
Right.
So
well, and it's how he took it, right? It's
correct.
how he perceived it and how they perceived it, right? Based on where they were at in life,
right?
And
now,
where their thought process.
A brilliant preacher he was, right? A brilliant minister, and he led the right life, and he had been doing it for 30 some years, so I'm sure he's given a sermon on that topic 40 times. Who knows, right? Or more. And it probably wasn't the way that he always approached it or hit it, and so there it was. So there are times, right? There are great teachers. Okay. I can think of my statistics teacher in high school. I didn't like the guy. I did not like the guy. And I got thrown out of his class several times just because I was like, this guy's an idiot. I didn't connect with him.
Right.
When I went to college, what I had learned from him, I was tutoring everybody in our statistics class because I had learned so much from him.
Yeah.
Right. Or did I want to prove him wrong? So I learned enough to prove this guy wrong. I don't know. But so sometimes there are great teachers that you don't take as great teachers until years later.
Right. Like you might have seen him as a preacher. And so it's like you shut down because then it's and I'm glad you brought that up because that's, sometimes or a lot of times I feel that if you come across as a preacher, people will shut down. Right. Don't tell me how to live my life. Don't tell me what to do.
They're not hungry.
How about show me? How about show me what to do?
Yeah, but you can still show people if they're not hungry. They'll be like, this guy's wasting his time here. God. Right. Oh, great. You can do that, Scott. Good for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then 3 weeks later, they're going to use it, but you're not around for them to go.
Well, like an example. Also, like for an example with you as a coach, right?
Yeah.
So you teach your girls, let's just say, how to shoot a free throw.
Yeah.
Proper
good footwork,
mechanics, and all that, right? You're teaching them how to do it, and they can learn. They can see how you're doing it. When you're preaching at them, right? Do this, do that, do this. Are they really listen? You know what I mean? So like, are you sending to them to where it's like, I don't want to listen, kind of like your statistics teacher, because you didn't like him because he maybe wasn't walking the walk or talking the talk. You could tell them all day long what to do, but you get up there and show them, be like, look, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
Right. And you get up there and drop
I was a 17-year-old douchebag. I was bulletproof. I thought I knew it all.
But you as a teacher get up there and drop in, 3-4 free throws in a row. Now you're not preaching. You actually, you're walking the walk, right? See, look, I'm telling you how to do it. And look, I can do it.
But Bob says life coaches primarily help you clarify your goals in life. We can have a whole discussion about life coaches.
That's for next Friday.
But
I mean, his comment is right. Right. So I think what he means by that is the life coach is, kind of like you and me when we're talking. life coaches should, in my opinion, just make you, in my thoughts, question everything. Why did you do that? Why did you want to do that? How are you
That's
going
a
to get to that?
therapist.
But it's also, I call therapists life coaches, right? Because they make
But
you
therapists don't go around saying they're life coaches.
right. No, they don't, because they want to get paid more. A life coach doesn't get paid what a therapist,
coach,
right? But so it's making you think outside the box or look at things from a different perspective is what, for me, a life coach is. Hey, this is what you want to achieve. How are you going to get there?
I think that a life coach, somebody who tags themselves as a life coach, is trying to earn money from people because they don't want to work in the corporate and they want to be a quote unquote entrepreneur. I think they're snake oil salespeople. I'm a life coach. Oh, really? Where did you get your certification for that? Did you did you go to school for? No, life.
Through life.
Yeah, through life. Okay, so your life is the same as mine.
No.
No. So,
but I'm probably run into similar situations.
Right. So there, to me,
right.
If you say that you're a life coach, everybody is a life coach then. I take my experience.
No, you work that backwards. You're coaching them in life. Right. You're not a life coach. You're coaching them, or you're teaching them, right, what has worked for you. If it works for them, great. If not, or if they're like in your example, if they're hungry or not, right? Do you really want this information? If so, this is what worked for me.
You can't coach my life. What?
No, I can't. But I can give you ideas, and I can give you some type of direction to what has worked for other people. Even though I don't know your life intimately, we are all the same, but we are all very different.
Go to a therapist.
Right. Right. And we are not advocating for that.
Right. Shannon says it's not what's said, but what's heard that matters. That said, I'm no longer taking responsibility for the limits of someone's comprehension or feelings. Yeah. That's a good point right there. Right.
Right.
I could say 2 + 2 is 4, and you could dismiss that, and somebody else could go, I get it. Right. So, what's heard is what matters.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm no longer taking responsibility for the limits of someone's comprehensions or feelings. And it's so true. And that has been really what's tearing apart society, right? Is, oh, well, you might hurt their feelings. Tough shit, you hurt their feelings. It's not my fault.
Right. I was just giving them the information or my thoughts.
If they're insecure, they're insecure, whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we became so politically correct with that whole movement. Oh, you can't say that. You might offend.
Yeah. Fuck politically correct.
Who cares?
Fuck
Be
politically
offended.
correct. Right.
Growing up as a kid, I was offended a lot.
Right.
Shit happens. You move on.
Right.
It's okay to be offended. What are you going to do with it?
Right.
You're going to sit there and cry and suck your thumb, or you're going to get up and move on.
Right. You're gonna how are you gonna let that affect you? It's like everything in life. It's how you react.
Right.
It's not what happens. It's how you react. But in
the last 20 years, we've said you need to care about my feelings. No, I don't.
Right.
Listen, I tell my kids this all the time. If the world were to stop turning tomorrow, everyone were to die, and you were the only one here, you still have to live with yourself.
Right. And that's a hard concept for a lot of kids to suck in.
Right. So that's just the way it is, right? Guess what? I hurt your feelings.
Get over it.
Right. Move on.
Right. And try it. And if there's something to take out of me hurting your feelings, and you learn something from it, then I've succeeded.
Here's the deal, folks, and I use this often. I don't like green beans.
Oh, what's wrong with you?
You see? A lot of people do. But growing up in the 70s, we had our own garden. I had to weed beans. I had to pick beans. And then we canned them. The house smelled gross. And then you had them for every meal. And I didn't like them.
Well, it's because they were pushed down your throat.
And then my brothers, you couldn't leave in the 70s. You couldn't leave the table.
Your that plate was clean. That's politically not correct either.
Right? So now I'm choking down gross green beans, cold, nasty green beans.
Well, that's how you're perceiving it, though.
I don't like them. And yet today, at almost 53, I will not eat a green or yellow bean. I won't. I don't like them. And that's okay. I don't have to.
Right.
But guess what? I don't put them on my plate. Right? If somebody irritates you, you don't like what they're saying, leave, go away, turn the channel, whatever.
Right. Right.
Move on. Move on.
Right. And that's where our world has gotten stuck, is people don't move on. People just sit there and ruminate about it and get pissed off and try to evaluate why. Like, don't, it's not the Simon Sinek book, What's Your Why? It's just move on.
Move on.
Be done with it. I mean, now if you did something to them to bring that out, okay, then maybe look and go, why? All right, I won't do that again. Right. So then you have a learning experience there. But most people don't take it as learning experiences. They take it as a freaking attack on their person. Right.
Yeah.
Or, and they get all freaking frustrated. It's like, don't take it so personally. Just move on. If there's nothing you can learn from this, nothing you can benefit from this, move on.
Right.
Don't put people these days, and it's society has pushed it that way. Everyone's worried about everyone else, what they're thinking, and how they've come across. And
right.
Screw that. Right. I like what Shayna said right there. It says, aren't fathers life coaches? So that I will agree with. Because I know, as a general rule, granted, my kid, right? I'm not in his head or my daughter's head all the time, but I've watched them grow from being born to the point they're at. So I have a pretty good understanding or knowledge of their life and what's going on and what might be important to them or not important to them. So we are coaching their life. In that respect, I'm good with the comment life coach, because, hey, life is this. This is what I've gone through. This is the things that'll be thrown at you. And this is what's worked for me. Now, going to a therapist and calling them a life coach is a little bit different, because they have no freaking idea who you are. They're going off the DSM manual. You know what I mean? This is what for years everyone has said should be done. Right?
No.
So you don't think that you're a life coach to your kids?
I think that I'm their dad, right? I haven't led the perfect life. If I were to say if somebody in my house is a life coach, it's probably their mom, right? They don't call for me in the middle of the night when they're sick. Right. Mom's very comforting.
I say mom has a little bit more comfort value.
Right. But that's
that's a more emotional.
You want to be comfortable. Right.
And that's a more of an emotional connection.
So, and my wife's she's a rock star. Right. She's not afraid to swing a hammer. She's not afraid to get up on a roof and shingle a house. She's not afraid to change a tire. She's not afraid to do everything that a man can do. Right. My wife, she's more of a life coach. Guess who they turn to first? Guess who they go to first? Right. Now, there are certain things that they'll come to me for. Right. But, we're an example, I think.
So what would you call yourself as a parent? Right.
Yeah,
so what is, all right. So what is a dad? What's the definition of a dad?
Yeah, I'm dad. I'm there. I love them.
You're teaching them.
I'll always support them.
So are you not a life coach? Are you a life teacher?
No,
instead of a life coach?
I'm a dad. I mean, my son is in the Navy. I've never been in the Navy. I can't coach his life. Right.
No, but
my daughter's got her master's degree. I don't even have a degree. Right.
You have a degree in life.
Right. I got a daughter who wants to be a nurse. I don't know the first thing about being a nurse. I'm not a girl. I can't.
Right. But you can coach her or teach her. These are the steps that you need to take. You can, and you can support, and supporting kind of is supporting is kind of teaching, coaching.
In my house, if there's a life coach, it's my wife.
Right.
It isn't me.
It isn't you.
No.
So
I don't even know what I want to do when I grow up.
Well, none of us do.
So
it's a daily.
My kids do.
It's a daily.
They're doing it.
Yeah, but they may change that. These are things that they're interested in now, that they're hungry for that knowledge to become someone in the service, or a therapist or a nurse, right?
Yeah.
That's something they're hungry for, right? And as a parent, or if they're life coach, you can say, hey, look, if this is what you want to do, you need to do A, B, and C to get to that point. And then you send them to the teacher that'll actually give them the curriculum and the knowledge.
My life coaching is life's a game. Have fun.
Play it hard, baby.
My second rule, life's a game. Have fun. My third rule, attack your goals. Simple as that. Attack your goals always. Right. And the fourth rule is trust.
Right.
Trust the world's not fair. Trust that somebody loves you. Trust that somebody hates you. Trust that there's somebody better than you out there. Trust that the laws are going to work against you. Trust that the laws are going to work for you.
Yeah.
Those are the 4 rules that I have in life. There you go.
I loved when you brought that up.
Period.
We were at man camp when you brought
Period.
those up. Yeah.
Right. Period. And
Right.
that's
But
it.
your four rules, if you will, that's teaching the kids. This is what it's about, right? This is, hey, trust the fact that somebody's going to screw you over someday. Trust the fact that you're going to screw somebody over someday, right? It's going to happen.
Trust
Accept it.
not fair.
So you're teaching them.
Have fun doing it.
Right. Have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Accept it and move on, regardless of what the outcome is. Accept it, move on, and adjust accordingly, right? Adapt. Do what you need to do.
But I can't coach them through that. Oh, I see you're clinically depressed. Here, let's go have fun. I can't coach them through that. I'm not clinically depressed.
Right.
That's
a tough one.
Robert says, absolutely, Shayna, perception becomes reality in this world.
Yeah.
Mansplaining is but one of the differences between being perceived either teacher or preacher. Yeah, that's true.
Wow, mansplaining. See, I think I fall victim to that nonstop, and I don't realize I'm doing it until like they call me out on it, right? And I tell my kids, I said, look, I'm not here to be your preacher, right? I don't mean to preach to you. I want you to have more knowledge, more information to make your life what you want it to be. And here's what's worked for me. I don't want to have you tune me out because you feel like I'm preaching to you. And it comes across as that a lot of times. And I get that. And I'm paying more attention. I'm being more adamant about really thinking about what I say.
You know, last week, last Saturday, was it last Saturday? I think it was last Saturday. Last Saturday, went, Ashley, my oldest daughter, she calls to say, I want to trade in my car. I found this. Okay, well, so we go over to Palatine Chevy over there, Leader Chevy, great bunch of people over there. Gallo, it was just an incredible experience. Well, the interesting thing,
never heard that said about going to a car delership. An incredible experience.
It was an incredible experience. I was blown away.
Wow.
We get there, and
props
of course,
to them.
And I'm there with Colette and Ashley. So Colette's my 19-year-old, and they come and they start talking to me, and I just go, no. You're going to talk to her. She wants to buy the car. I'm just here for moral support. So several times they would turn to me and I go, talk to her. Right. and then she asked, well, hey, is this a good deal? I go, do you think it's a good deal? Right.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's a good deal.
Well, there you're for support.
Yeah. Support. Right. So if you think it's a good deal, then it's a good deal.
And if it works for you, if it's what's acceptable
well, do I need to get this? Well, did you ask him? Well, no. Well, then ask him. I don't think you need to get that on there. But ask him.
Right.
Oh, well, this is part of their, so here go. They got to make it up somewhere. If you don't want to pay for that, they got to make it up somewhere or take it off. They got the room for it. Right. So I'm there for support. Right. I didn't tell her how to do it, what to do, what term to get, anything like that. Right. She wanted me there for support.
Right.
So I was there
to make sure that she's making a good decision, that she doesn't get worked over, because
she's very empowered. She loves it. And she gave him a 5-star. Listen, she gave this guy a 5-star, throw Gallo's name out there. He was incredible. And dude sends her $100 gas card for
so she's gonna get a quarter tank of gas.
Yeah.
What you're saying.
Yeah. She's got a nice little Jeep. It was nice.
Oh, did she?
You got to be careful with the move on idea. Sometimes those situations bring you information you might need. Hear everyone out. You got to be careful with the move on. Just move on. Oh, okay. Yeah. We were talking about, there it is. Move on.
Oh, move on. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I'm not saying to dismiss it. And the one thing that my dad, that I learned from my dad is you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Always listen. Be quick to listen, not to speak.
Right.
Seek first to understand rather than to be understood. It's still one of the great things that people need to do.
Right.
At a game on Sunday, it's halftime. My girls are getting beat pretty good, right? As they say, like a redheaded stepchild, right? and the referee is sitting behind the bench talking and said, these girls shouldn't even be playing basketball. They should just be learning how to dribble. Now, he wasn't necessarily speaking about my team. He was speaking about a different team. But what did my 7th grade girls hear?
That
Right?
they're not good.
So we get through the game and we lose, and the refs did a wonderful job. He did a wonderful job doing his job. So afterwards, I was like, hey guys, I just want to catch you for a quick minute. We're in pretty close quarters here. And this is what was said at halftime, and my team heard it. And the guy was so close-minded, as if I was trying to, tell him he did a bad job. I go, no, you didn't do a bad job. They didn't take it that way. I go, so you're telling me that no one has ever overheard a conversation and taken it personally? These kids didn't even hear it. My whole team heard it. You're standing 2 feet right behind.
Right. And what other way do they have to take it but personally?
Correct. So this guy gets blown up. Again, he didn't seek first to understand. He got defensive right away. Right? Now, he knows he did wrong because he knows what he said. Right? His partner looked at me and winked like, yeah, you're right. Right? And all I was saying was, listen, when it's this close of quarters, we have to be careful what we say to these very formidable young ladies.
Right.
7th grade, middle school is a terrible time for ladies, right? They're going through a lot.
Right. And
you can't say that within earshot, whether you're talking about them or not, right? How is it going to be perceived? So we sat there and he battled with me, and I was just like, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from and why you're not listening or understanding what I'm saying. You're wasting your time. You're wasting, and I obviously hurt his feelings, right? And so,
well, his perception was way off.
Right. So the interesting thing was, again, if we seek first to understand rather than to be understood, it makes a big difference.
It makes a huge difference. And I mean, for me personally in my life, that's been something that has changed me quite a bit, because I've always been one of those people I'm listening to respond,
right,
instead of listening to understand. And that's something I deal with all the time.
Well, and so, Shana says they watch you get up and push every week and the kids see it. That's true. And Scott, you get the same thing that I do 5 times a week. When do you have time for sleep? When do you have time for your family? When do you have
I get that every day from people.
I do too, right? Because I'm going and going and going.
Right.
And I'm like, well, when I stop, I fall asleep.
Right. Or when I stop, I'll die.
But my family always takes, as yours does. I don't care where I'm at, what I'm doing. If they need me, I'm there.
Right.
Right. And so that's the example that Dad is, right? My kids and your kids might look at, I don't want to be as crazy busy as my dad. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, here's what I would rather. I'd rather sit in front of my computer and sell NFTs or something and get rich on Bitcoin. And then I don't have to work I love my dad's lifestyle and everything that we've got. But this guy owns 22 businesses. He's running here. He's running there. He's everywhere. But you find time to spend with your dad. You find time to spend with your son, your granddaughter, everything.
Right.
And people, it's kind of that we talked about, it must be nice, right?
Yeah, I love that show. Right. It is nice.
Right. And
that's my choice.
Right. And people don't see us, giving that. You're going. I mean, I admire everything that you do. I call you for advice. I love your advice, right? I mean, things that I don't, and that's, and then
and vice versa.
And the commonality is you grew up here in Illinois. I grew up in Iowa. We had identical childhoods.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We were just one day we're just sitting there. We're like, holy crap!
Right,
I do that too. Oh, I do that.
Yeah. Oh, you remember that? Yeah.
Right.
That was.
We used to do that. Oh my God!
I still do it.
Right. So the amazing thing is, as you push and you pull that teacher preacher. If we bring it back to that, I don't think that I think they're one of the same, teacher preacher coach.
They are, but it's the perception.
It's how you're taking.
Right. It's
whoever's taking.
Right.
That
It's who's taking it in. Right. And that's why I wanted to kind of bring it up, because we are a melting pot, so to speak, of everything. Right. And it's how you're using your knowledge and you're using your time with these people to making sure it's coming across as a teaching moment instead of a preaching moment, because people don't want to, as a general rule, don't want to listen to people preaching. right?
Right.
Get off of your
You
pulpit.
see their eyes glaze
Right,
over. It's
right.
time to
Well,
say
get,
amen.
hey, get off your high
Amen.
horse,
Yeah,
right? Get
right.
off your high horse,
Yeah.
get off your pulpit, come down and show me. Don't tell me how
Right,
to do
get
it.
dirty with me.
And so that I know, if there's one thing I know when I go to my deathbed that I can say that I know I did right, is that I showed my kids that perseverance and hard work pays off.
Yeah.
Right. At least for me, if you never give up, you're never a failure.
That's right.
Right. When you give up
It's when you don't try.
and you don't try,
Right.
right. I would rather go into my deathbed knowing that I tried everything. I might have failed because I mean, shit, I make 10 decisions a day. 9 of them are wrong.
Yep.
But that one good one, usually,
Right.
I can feel good about. That's
right.
my plight in life, is making sure I'm realizing I'm doing that.
That's right. And I absolutely love what Shana says. I think it's dangerous to get caught in feedback loop that doesn't allow opposing viewpoints. Absolutely. I force myself to try to understand. Not everyone is into it. No, that's so true. And most people today just want
people are so
battle.
close-minded, be like, I'm not
Yep.
going to listen to you. That's the cancel culture we got today.
Crazy busy or crazy dedicated to provide. I like the crazy dedicated to provide. And just make a difference, right? That's the big thing. A get dirty with me. There's a t-shirt. Yeah, there's another t-shirt. We hit our t-shirt.
We need
moment.
to hit that. We'll take that over at Fetish Fridays at Fantasy
There we go.
Factory. That's our new Fridays.
Listen, we can't thank you enough for listening
Getting
to us
caught.
preach to you.
Yeah, it's kind of what we do some
Right,
days, right?
some
We do
days.
preach.
We're just humbled that you guys love to join us on Friday mornings for the grounds, to teach or to preach,
Or coach,
or whatever it is,
or just be your friend.
take a look at what's coming out of your mouth and how it's being taken. You can get good mail in the mail and you can get junk mail. It all depends on how you look at it.
That's true.
There you
That's
go.
true.
For all of us here at 2169, come back at 9 for the bridge, as we'll be talking about bridge things as we always do.
And well, thanks for tuning in this week, guys and gals and folks and dogs and cats. Have a great weekend. Remember, you don't know what someone else is going through in life. Show them love, compassion, hug somebody, and just enjoy yourself, because life's too short. Be a preacher, a teacher, a coach, and a friend. Peace out, folks.
Today, a two-bit expose.